It's Monday night, it's 8 o'clock, it's Monday night golf night. Welcome, we are live. Okay, I want to start this week with a couple of thank yous. Big thank you to Ryan down at the Golf Shack Rochdale. Thank you so much for all the support and everything you've given us with help with the studio, equipment. If you are looking for something to do over the weekend, maybe go and hit some balls yourself, I would strongly recommend head down to the Golf Shack in Rochdale. Ryan's got a great setup there. He's actually got some really good deals on as well at the moment. Definitely worth going down there for a look. So if you can get yourself down there. Also, a couple of shout outs to Beast, one of the loyal followers. Not quite sure who you are, but you're on every week. Massive thank you. Callum, hi. Welcome. And to all our other viewers who are watching, thank you. Welcome. All I'm going to ask, obviously, if you've got any questions, anything, please drop it in the chat. But make sure, please, we keep it golf related. Okay? We are a golf channel. We talk about golf. Nothing else in the world matters. Okay? Hi, Logan. Okay, I'm going to start this week with the news that dropped last week. Luke Donald retaining the Ryder Cup captaincy. I like it. I like Luke. It's the first time since the early 90s that we've kept a captain. At first, I was a little, does it break tradition? But actually, I like the idea of a bit of continuity. You know, this idea that with it being a biennial event every 2 years, keep swapping the captain. How can you build a team? How can you sort of keep it going? You know, and I think it's remarkable the captains that have done that. They've managed to build a team or build that morale. Some at the European team in particular is very good at. But I like the fact that Luke Donald, I thought Luke did a good job in Rome. I thought he made it easier. Team USA were an absolute shambles and it did make his job easier. And that's why I'd say Luke did a good job, not a great job. I just think Team USA were so unprepared. They didn't have the camaraderie. I didn't think they had players in form. I think it was almost USA, almost an arrogance. We can rock up, show up, we can win because we won so comfy last time. But last time, they had a great team. Obviously, with everything that's gone on in the last sort of 2 years, that hasn't happened. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what Team USA do now going forward. I really do. There's talk of it being Tiger. I'd love to see Tiger, but I think I'd love to see Tiger still playing. I think he still offers something from that perspective. I actually think Team USA are going to go backwards. I think they may go back to something like a Steve Stricker, a Davis Love III, maybe a Freddie Couples. I can't see them going for somebody a bit different. I think they're going to revert to type, come back with a task force. They've done it many times, and stick with that model of this task force, create the bubbles, the pods as they call them. Can they win it back? Now, the big thing is it's at Bethpage in New York, which is one of the toughest courses in the world, no matter what. Now, it's actually a municipal for those people that don't know. You can actually go and play it. Now, the price has gone up a little bit. I remember years ago, it was about $40, which was an absolute steal when you think it's held US Opens, it's held PGA Championships. It was a steal. I believe now it's about $160, which again, I think for a venue of that calibre is nothing. It's an absolute steal. But there are big signs saying, you know, make sure you've got enough balls, make sure of this. So it'll be interesting how they set it up for the Americans. But the course itself is a great course. So I do look forward to that. And like you say, hope Luke gets it right again. I really do. I think he did a lot of good things. I think this will be the true test now. It's one thing to win it. I always say it's another to defend it. And I think looking at players like Ludwig Åberg coming through, the Højgaard, there's a lot of potential in the European team. Hopefully they fulfill that and they go on and win it. Now, this come up last week. I talked a lot about this last week. It's been a bit more clarified now, the distance debate. The official announcement is in this week, it's going to be announced that they're going to roll the ball back 5%. I just find this decision absolutely ludicrous. I don't get it. I don't get what they're trying to achieve, what they're trying to do. The big question I've got is, what if clubs don't agree? What if clubs turn around and say, no, we're not doing it, we're sticking with this? What happens then? I'm quite interested to see that. Now, they're saying it doesn't come until 2028, with it being official from 2030. So it'll be interesting to see how that is actually implemented. But I still, for me, I think it's a lazy option. A lot of people on social media are saying they don't agree. I know Rory's come out and issued a statement saying he's all for it, but he's Rory McIlroy. There's a reason he's in the top 3 in the world. The rest of us aren't in that calibre of player, so what are they trying to do? And I go back to what I was saying last week with course setup for me. I think if you set the course correctly, it doesn't matter. The course this week in South Africa is the longest ever on tour at 8,300 yards. South Africa have the space to do that. Brilliant. But we haven't got that in the UK in particular. We may have the odd course that we can do it, but we can't do that. But then I go back to, I give you the numbers last week, but then I also started thinking about this over the week, and I think of the 10th at Riviera. It's 305 yards, and yet it's one of the best holes on tour. You know, people make 6s as quickly as they make 2s and 3s. Yes, they can drive the green, but it doesn't mean they're guaranteed the birdie. It doesn't mean they're guaranteed a good score. So for me, I also think the 17th in Dubai, it's coming up in January. It's 359 yards according to, if you play it correctly, but you can have a go at it. I think as the crow flies, when I get my words out, it plays about 310 yards. Patrick Reed has an incident last year where he got caught up a tree, but they're not long holes. You know, we keep talking about distance, distance, distance. I quite like the risk and reward element a little bit, but these holes aren't long, and yet they're never caned, they're not beaten. You know, yes, there's some great, you know, you hit a great shot, you're rewarded, but you get a little out of position, or even if you lay it up, you're not guaranteed a birdie. So do you need monstrously long holes? Do you need 500-yard par fours to make it difficult? I don't think you do. I go back to that bit of imagination. Look at the par 3s. The 7th at Pebble Beach, 110 yards. Okay, people argue it depends on the weather, it depends, but I don't see many people making birdies on it. It's 107 yards or something, 110 yards. I've seen videos where it's played into the wind and people have had to hit 5 irons. But like you say, I don't see it getting caned. So, Hoylake this year, the 17th. I watched Phil Mickelson on the Friday get out of position, suddenly made a 5. I think it played 123 yards. So, do we need this distance debate? I don't think we do. Let's show a bit of ingenuity. Let's tighten the courses. The Open next year, Truenet has the postage stamp. It's a world famous hole. It's not long. And again, it goes to show that you don't need a long hole to be a great hole. So do we need to roll the ball back? I don't think we do. Hi Stephen, thank you for joining. Been a while. I know you're new to golf, Stephen, so I hope you enjoyed tonight. Hope you enjoy the watching. Let me know what you think makes a great golf hole. I love to get into this because to me, like I say, I want a bit of character. I want a bit of thought. I don't just want people standing up there, smash it as hard as they can, smash it as wide as they can. They've got a wedge in. I think to me, it's boring that. Certain tournaments, yeah, totally agree with it. But do you want to see that week in, week out? Because we as amateurs don't have that. We don't have that luxury, unfortunately, especially in the UK. We have the weather, we have the ground staff, we have financials, you know, there's financial implications on a lot of courses, especially more so now with the cost of living and that and membership. You know, we don't play these manicured courses week in, week out. Do we need that punishment? For me, I don't think we do. We certainly did, Stephen. I won't repeat what you've put, but we did. We did beat the USA. Although it weren't as comfortable as it maybe should have been. Paul, sometimes par 3s are the hardest. I agree, and I'd actually say the shorter the par 3 at times, the harder the par 3. I don't take Sawgrass, the 17th at Sawgrass, I think it's 140 yards. It's nothing, it's a wedge for most players. Do they birdie it? No, they don't. Yes, there are some players have a hole in one. Yes, they have a birdie, but the majority don't. So I don't think this idea of make the course longer, to me, doesn't sit right. Let's apply a bit of common sense, and I know it's rare in the world. This brings me on to my next one, and again, world rankings. The official Golf World Rankings now to me has become a joke. It's become a laughing stock. Since the whole LIV debacle, it's almost like the PGA Tour have influenced it heavily, and it's just not even funny anymore. I'm going to use some stats now. The South African Joburg Open last week, if you won that, you got 12 points. If you won the South African Open this week, you got 11 points. The Australian Open this week, 14 points. Now, they're all full field events, 150 odd players of different calibers. The Hero World Challenge that's just took place in the Bahamas, I'm going to come on to that afterwards, but a 20-man field, the winner got 30 points. Scotty Scheffler got 30 world ranking points for that. How can that be sensible, logistical, fair? That to me is an absolute laughing stock. And I feel sorry for someone like Scotty Scheffler because he's the top of the world rankings. He's a phenomenal golfer. If he could putt, he'd probably won about 12 times this year. But he's now at the top through, really, this. It almost sort of tarnishes what he's about and ruins his golf. Jon Rahm, another one, he's had a phenomenal season. Rory McIlroy, they've had good seasons, but when you look at this sort of thing that's going on, it kind of tarnishes it a little bit. Questions, are they really? You know, when you look at some of the other players who are out there playing, I look at the live lads. You know, Bryson DeChambeau over the weekend shot a 61 of 58. He won twice. Taylor Gooch won 3 times across the world. Hasn't got these kind of points, but yet a 20-man field, because it's linked with the PGA Tour, it does not sit right with me. I really, really don't like that. And I think at some point, they've got to get to grips with. Somebody's got to turn around. Now, I've had a big thing on Twitter about majors. You know, you're playing with people qualifying for majors based on, I'm going to use the word corruption, really. You know, how can a 20-man field carry more points, double what the Australian had, nearly triple what the South African had, and yet they were full field events? And yet you're turning around to players going, oh, you're not going to get in the majors because of what? What is the grounds? What is the criteria? I don't get it. Now, I've read on Twitter about Tiger Woods jumping up spots. Tiger Woods, unfortunately, will always jump up spots because of how far down he is. The further down the rankings, the closer the gap that one good week or one will jump you up. I understand that bit and I get that bit. But when you start looking more into sort of the top 100, it just doesn't sit right. You know, Dean Burmester's won 2 events and picked up 23 points. Scotty Scheffler wins one 20-man event and gets 30. It just blows your mind. It really, really does blow your mind. And I think at some point, somebody's got to get to grips with this golf, and because I think it's going to tear itself apart. I really do. Or the majors, to me, need to come out and say, look, this is our criteria. This is what we're sticking with. This is what we're going with. I like it. Now, I mentioned last week, for example, the Open. I would love to see the R&A turn round and say, right, you win the South African Open, there's a spot. If you win this, there's a spot. If you don't, they're going to be qualifiers that are open to anybody. Okay, anybody off a certain thing, you can enter it. That gives the players like you live. Everybody knows it's an equal field. If you don't win an event that qualifies, there's qualifying events that are open as long as you're good enough. Okay, it might even be you turn around and go, right, scratch handicap or better, you can enter. And it's the same for everybody. Let's get it back to that bit of a rookie has a chance, but also these lads know the criteria. It's simple for everybody. Hello, Mikesh. Think technology is helping all type of players gain distance. The only thing golf world can change is the ball. I don't actually know where I stand on that one, Mikesh, purely because I look at what Adam Scott said. Adam Scott says, like, you know, go back 20 years, the driver was the hardest club in the bag. Now, it's the easiest. Is that the route? But what are we doing it for? Who is it for? You know, the likes of me, you, Mikesh, Paul, Stephen, Skep FC, we're not at that level. You know, it's almost like we're going to punish the regular golfer for what? What's the purpose of this rollback? That's the question I've got. Now, I've heard things about sustainability, this, that. Well, if you're short on the course, there's your sustainability. So I don't get this logic of, oh, it doesn't. There's somebody saying about, oh, the driving range is over 300 yards. That's extra water. Right. Make the range 300 yards and put a big net up. With technology now, TrackMan, GC Quad, do you need a big range? Because that'll give you your numbers. You know, you've got technology now that can help. So I don't see this rolling it back for the arguments that I'm seeing. I'm not getting it. Now, if anybody obviously knows more than me or can come on and explain, please feel free. But to me, I just feel like it's been a lazy action to something that's not really an issue. You know, I think, like I say, tighten the courses up. I hit a decent ball, not afraid to say it. So where I am, let's tighten the course. I had this at my past club. People were always putting hazards in and putting things in. Even now, I was up there the other week, I got told there's a hazard being put in, and I went, that doesn't affect me. And they looked at me and I said, it's a par 5. I said, that doesn't really come into play. So who are you punishing? You're punishing your average members. You're not punishing your low men. So what's the purpose? That's the bit I'm struggling to get my head around. It seems to be a common theme. Adam Scott's a legend. I agree. Got the best swing in golf, in my opinion. The other debate I've seen coming up again, and I mentioned this a week or two ago again, pace of play. People are looking at this. This is a bigger issue. This is this. I think pace of play comes down to the person, the club, the course. What is it you're after? Now, I've had it myself. I've experienced this firsthand. People trying to rush me on a Saturday morning, and I've got quite upset by it. Not because they're doing, but it's that rushing when you've been in work all week. You've been in work all week. Now, in my instance, I was actually on time. I wasn't. It was a tournament. I was on the putting green. My tee-off time was 7:40. It was 25 past 7, and a guy came having a go at me like, you should be on the tee now. And I said, what's the rush? I've been in work all week. I've got 15 minutes. Calm yourself down. Now, on the course, I move quite quickly. I think it's just how I am. I try and play with momentum. I hate the stop-start. This year at a new club that I'm at, I'm trying to get my head around the fact it can take me 4.5 hours, 4 hour, 45 minutes to get around the course. And I'm standing there thinking, how? It's a short course. How's it taking so long? Some of it, people's health. Some people can't move as fast as others. Some people do want to make a day of it. What I would say is apply the etiquette of the game. That's the big thing for me. I see people looking for balls. You know, the minute you go to look for a ball, if there's a group on the tee, let them tee off, wave them through. You know, you can then readjust. What I see is people go looking for the ball, they don't, oh, they're on the tee. People start rushing, they make more of a mistake. Before you know it, it's adding time. I don't really have, I think at your pace. I don't think there's a big difference, you know, between me and most golfers. Like I say, I play quite fast. I do. I admit that. But I don't deliberately play fast. I'm not trying to run around going, come on, let's get round in. I saw somebody with 20 minutes he completed or something. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is keep with the pace. Apply a bit of common sense again. You know, follow the rules. If you hit a ball in the rough and the group behind are waiting, wave them through. Similar, if you know you're a little bit slow, par 5, you're on the green, stand to a side, let them hit down. It keeps things moving, but the group behind will find a rhythm. People talk about, I get out of rhythm, you find your rhythm by doing that. You know, if you wave a group through, something I'll always do is just stand to the side, let them play, let them clear, I then go and play my shot, keep my routine. Yeah? Don't try rushing, just take your time, but it is up to you what works. You know, and it's just looking at that. But like I said, I've mentioned it before. I remember playing Clitheroe with the first club I saw do it. They have a tee on the 10th. They have a big clock and it says this time should match the tee time that you teed off at. Now, we normally play around 10 o'clock, so we know we're around. And I always look at that clock and I'll say to my playing partners, we're a bit behind here according to this. But sometimes you look at that and if nobody's pushing you, then just carry on. There's no big thing with it really. But you know if people are behind you and you're a bit out of what's causing it. Sometimes it's out of your control. It could be the group in front. It could be the group in front of them. What do you want though? Would be my question. Now, I actually spoke with a guy this year at Clitheroe and I asked him, I said, what's it take here on a Saturday? And he said, we work on about 4 hours 10 and we're looking if we can get it a little quicker. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't have a problem with that, but how you do it? Now, if there are people out there taking 5 hours that are holding the course up to me, shot penalty them. Don't bother with this. You know, I don't agree with banning players for that, but shot penalties I think are quite effective. But again, look at who it is. You know, if somebody takes 5 hours but they've not held anybody up, is it a crime? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to have a look now. What have we got? I think technology has helped the average handicap, hitting it further and having shorter club scoring club help with scoring. I used the stats last week though, Mikesh. And to me, I don't think the modern technology for the average handicap is about distance. I think the difference is it's forgiveness. I think the modern driver, for example, is very forgiving now. And it's not that you're gaining yardage, it's that you're not necessarily losing yardage. So if you hit one out the middle and it goes 230, I think with modern technology now, if you hit a bit off the toe, a bit off the heel, you're getting maybe 220. Where in the old days, that'd be less than 200. And that I think is making the difference. And I think, as I've said before, though, I think technology now, the monitors, it tells you your ball speed. I've had a comment off yourself about my ball speed. Get your ball speed up, you'll this. You've played golf with me enough. You know I hit the ball far enough. What are you trying to say? You want me to hit it even further? You know, it's that sort of what are we looking at? And I think technology to me has made it easier, that it's more forgiving. I don't think it's the distance. Yes, it'll always come because it's advancements. But I think it's more for me, for the average golfer, is the forgiveness. Yeah, I agree, Skep FC. Just wave them through. Yeah, Paul, again, totally agree. Just wave the next group through. You know, work at your pace as well, I think. But what I would say is think about, are you ruining their enjoyment? You know, like I said, I've been out there this year. I played a pro event, or a pros competition it was. It weren't a pro event, I'm not that good. A pros competition, it took us 5 hours. I was pulling my hair out, but I weren't pulling my hair out because the group in front, but there was a hole at 260 yards. They all waited for the green to clear before they hit off. Not one of them could hit the ball past 220. So why were they waiting for the green to clear? You know, that, but when it was a 4-ball, that added time because then they had to go down, then they were playing the second shots. Now I'm standing there with my group and 2 of us could hit the ball at least that. We're then having to wait for safety. Now, we actually laid it up, I think, in the end, because we got a bit, but it was like that on every hole. Waiting till the group were that far out of range. It was like, you know, even Bryson DeChambeau wouldn't reach home. And you're thinking, you're 4 amateurs, 20 odd handicap. You've not hit one yet past 250. Why are you waiting for them to be 300 yards away? 275 would be fine. And that's if you catch one, you're hitting it 250. These lads aren't. So to me, it's things like that that just build the play up. Apply it a little bit. Think people don't understand the rule of letting people through? Maybe. I think some of it is maybe a little bit of ego, that I think people feel they've lost a little bit if they have to let somebody through. Oh, you know, you're admitting that guilt, you're admitting fault. But you're not. You know, if you've got a good round going, I'd rather you, do you know what, take your time, let me play through you or something. You take time, you carry on with your good round. I'm not going to stand there and go, hey, let us through it, you know. I think some of it's that. I think some of it is just that people have that attitude now. If it's their day out, they're right, they're not going to budge. Maybe that's a societal thing, I'm not sure. We're not getting into that though. And you're right, pace of play is just common sense. Now, the bit with pace of play with the common sense is that we know that a 70-year-old man ain't going to keep up with somebody like me. I'm probably not going to keep up now with a 16, 17-year-old. We know that. And you will account for that a little bit. But if it's holding other people up, just let them through. Just, you know, it is common sense. It really is. Right, I'm going to move on. If you've got, obviously, keep your questions coming and everything. This is brilliant. Right. The Live promotion event. The fields are sort of being announced now because it starts this weekend. I'm actually quite excited by it. The Live is growing on me more and more. I'm starting to get into it. Not because I agree, but I like the format. I like some of the players. I love watching Dustin Johnson. I love Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Cam Smith. There's some absolutely brilliant players on Live, and I really do like it. But the bit, for me, it's a very strange setup, and I'm just going to go into this a bit more. So, key players were put out this last week. Kevin Chappell, Kyle Stanley, Ben Campbell. I'm going to come on to Chris Stroud. Now, for the more people probably don't know who these players are. You know, I'll be honest with you, Kevin Chappell, I haven't heard his name for a while. Kyle Stanley, I haven't heard his name for a while. I remember I'd have to research this, but I'm going to say probably about 10 years ago, I remember him doing something at Torrey Pines, Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I remember him doing bits, and it was, but is he really, is he a household name? Ben Campbell, I've never heard of. I'll be honest, when I saw that name, I'm a bit, who's he? Chris Stroud, yeah, he's been around over 10 years. He's made 13 million on the PGA Tour in over 10 years. So he's not had a bad career. He's come out saying a couple of things. Now, he's entitled to his opinion. I've seen people, look, he's been a PGA Tour. He's been on the PGA Tour for over 10 years, so he's clearly got some talent. Do I blame him now going to live? Where if you can qualify, you're guaranteed. I think Chase Koepka made 6.5 million. He's only made 13 over 10 years. In a year, he could make half that. I don't have a problem with him going. The big one for me, Jason Dufner. Again, I think people of a certain age won't know who Jason Dufner is. I can remember, I think it was the 2013 PGA Championship. He won. He was a good player, but he hasn't done out for 6-7 years. I don't think he may have had the odd tournament, but it's the odd tournament. I look at the Europeans, Laurie Cantor, Gonzalo Fernandez Castaño, Gonzo, Alvaro Quiros. Again, there are players now, a generation who probably won't know who they are. So I can't understand quite this live setup now. I've nothing against lads going for the live. Fair play to them. But none of these, mate, you want to watch, they're not sort of the lads who you're going to go, oh, they're going to set the world alight. They're going to do something. So I don't quite get it. Like I said, DJ, Bryson, Brooks, Cam Smith, Louis Oosthuizen, and there's players there that you think, yeah, you want to watch. I don't want to watch these. I made a comment the other day, Graham McDowell, I always thought he was overrated to start with. I really did, in my opinion, and it is my opinion. He won the US Open, can't fault him for that. He won a couple of events. I never thought he was at that next level. People made out like he were a superstar. I didn't see it. He was a very good player, and I won't take that away from him, but he weren't at the level people made out to be. He's just signed for Brooks Koepka's team. Now, to me, I'm like, the idea is to win. I can't see Brooks Koepka's team winning with somebody like GMAC on there. I really can't. So I'm just struggling to see what Liv are trying to do. It's almost like they've got world class with, I want to use the word Sunday League. The difference. So I can't quite get it, especially when it's a limited field. I just don't see where the Liv is going. Now, the PGA Tour and DP World Tour have said these players are going to be this, they're going to be that, they're going to be the other, after saying they weren't. I don't get it, Alvaro Quiros has always been a tremendous ball striker. His putting's been streaky. Gonzo, great ball striker, can't put. So, what do they bring to the live table? I don't quite know. That's the bit I'm a little lost with when it comes to it. What we think of Tiger's performance this week? I'm going to come on to that, Mikesh. So, okay. Now, on the other side of that, some of the PGA Tour memberships have actually got a petition going around. They want players to sign it, raising some valuable points. And I actually do agree with this one. I raised it a bit last week, but I think we'll go into this a bit. The first point they've raised is the FedEx Cup points for signature events. 5th place in a signature event of a 78-man field is worth 278% more points than a full field. It's going back to that jobs for the boys attitude again that I mentioned last week. To me, just because you're in a signature event, should it carry more weight than a full field, especially if it's not a full field? If it's a signature event, I'm going to use the players where it's a full field. Tiger's event is a full field. I don't have a problem if it's a high quality field having more points. I almost agree with that a little bit, because that's why it's sort of the upper echelon event, the upper marketed event, or as it used to be, the Invitational. It had a different status. But if you're cutting the field, how can it have more points? It doesn't sit right with me, that. And I think, you're not rewarding that loyalty. The lads who are out there week in, week out, showing up at the Barbasol, showing up at the Wyndham, showing up, 23, 24 events. How can they not get some sort of reward for players who may play 12 events? It doesn't make sense. And to me, 5th place, 278% more points. It's just ludicrous to me. It just blows my mind. How can it only be that? They've also raised the number of signature events. I agree with that as well. I think there's too many. Like I said, I don't mind there being higher events, again, if there's chances for lads to qualify. But when you're closing the field, to me, what's the difference between that and live? I don't quite get that. The PIP programme, the Player Impact programme. Rory McIlroy won it. Tiger Woods. You know, I don't get what you've got to do anything on that. It's almost like, if you're a name, here's your money. You know, if you're going to do a programme like that, make it worthwhile. Make it grow the game. Make it grow the tour. Let's make it worthwhile. Okay, I think if you're not careful, it sort of kills it a little bit. The last one they've raised is the PGA Tour leadership. I've mentioned this for a while now. To me, it has become toxic on the PGA Tour. Jay Monahan, as I say, is coming a bit like a bull trying to shot. Week of this, week of that, we can do the other. He's soon backtracked. He's tried to put this thing in. He's realised they've not got the money. They've not got the capital to back it. He's trying to dictate everything. And I think the players have had enough now. I think the top players just want to play golf. You know, they were on the PGA Tour because of what it was, not what it's becoming. Now, they're saying things like they're still trying to negotiate with PIF. Again, I don't know what that does, because to me, if the minute they negotiate with PIF and that deal struck, you bring your live golfers back in. Well, you've now spouted that they're this, they're that, they're the other. You've sort of blacklisted them, but you're going to accept them back if you're not careful. So I don't quite get what they're trying to do. I really don't. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with this petition and the players, and I will do my best, obviously, to keep you updated. Looking at the results now, the Australian Open, I watched quite a bit of this, actually. And again, Joaquin Niemann, 5th last week. He won this week. Great finish. Second playoff all-made eagle. Missed it the first time round, got it the second time round. Again, a live player, though, but apparently if you go to live, you're dead. You know, you're finished, but yet live seems to be dominating. There's a lot to be said. But Joaquin's been a player who, I think for me, he's been a bit streaky. You know, he's shown moments of brilliance, then he disappears, then he comes back again. Obviously, he's come back now. 5th win. Fair play, you know, every credit. He beat Rookie of the Year, Rikuo Hoshino. Now, I asked on Twitter what were the criteria for Rookie of the Year now. He won once. He hasn't really, you know, he's not on there. I don't think he's been at top of many leaderboards. What's the criteria for Rookie of the Year? Clearly, finishing runner-up here, he's shown he's got something, but he won the award before that. So, to me, I'm a little bit, what is the criteria? You know, where are we going with this? I actually felt a bit sorry watching it for Adam Scott. He was playing phenomenal golf. He hit a tee shot that, to me, wasn't out of bounds, but it was deemed out of bounds. And I've got to say massive respect to Adam. He didn't argue it. He took it on the chin. He went. He didn't finish the way he wanted. But it was great to watch the Australian. It was great to see the fans. I think golf in Australia is really starting to grow. The South African Open. I watched quite a bit of this. Dean Burmester back-to-back. Brilliant. Another live golfer. You know, I think what was more impressive was he nearly missed the cut. Now, I would say he had the look of the green. If anyone watched him play 18 yesterday, why he went for that green in 2 with a 3-shot lead, I do not know. But he hit it in the hazard. It bounced out. He was safe. He knocked it on. He 2-putted. He won comfortably in the end for back-to-back, and it's another live winner. So, you know, is live the devil after all? I don't know. Obviously, the Hero World Challenge, coming on to that now, Mikesh. Scotty Scheffler played phenomenal golf. Jordan Spieth at one point I thought was going to be up there, and then he did his usual Jordan of hit it everywhere but where he should have done. I heard a saying a while back that if it weren't for spectators, he'd probably lose a few balls. I think that was true. I watched him hit one that far wide into a bush the other day. It was off the charts. But Scott hit again, playing well. He had a new putter in the bag. I can't say he looked any different to me. I watched him closely. It looked different grip, different feel, but still, I watched him on 17. He hit a tremendous. Now, earlier in the day, Paul McGinley, my least favourite commentator, you know, said, oh, anybody gets close to this. Scotty Scheffler stood up stiff to 9-iron, but the putt, ooh, you know, it was a straight pull that you're thinking, but I've seen Scotty Scheffler do that all year, so is it the putter? Is it technique? Is it nerves? I'm not quite sure. You know, like I say, if you could put this year, Scotty Scheffler, he'd have won about 12 times. But for me, the big one, it was great to just see Tiger. Finish level, weren't worried about that. I mean, I was watching more, could he get round the 4 days? Now, he was dripping with sweat. Obviously, there's all sorts of rumours talking about PEDs and stuff. I'm not going to go into that because I think it's absolute nonsense. For me, obviously, with what he's gone through, I think his fitness is probably not where he's used to. And we all know when we're not fit in that kind of weather, you will sweat, you will feel it. You know, as much as he's an athlete, obviously he's had a subtalar fusion, he had plantar fasciitis. It's all with your feet. You're not going to be running, you're not going to be doing stamina building, physical exercises with them kind of injuries. It's just not going to happen. And to me, I think it was his fitness. I watched him towards the end of his rounds. You saw we were making bogeys. The physical side affects the mental side. And for me, I think Tiger, it was just his fitness. Yes, he were always going to be rusty. He said that himself. But it was great to see him back. You know, it weren't the finish he wanted. It probably weren't the tournament he wanted. But the fact he got through 4 rounds, he's now saying he reckons he can play 1 tournament a month. I'm going to say it now. I think he'll win in the next 12 months. I think he'll get himself back. I think he'll get a win. I'd love it to be something like a major, but I think he will get a win. I really do. You heard it here first. Tiger has always been a sweaty guy, though. Weird observation, but yeah, it was something that was coming up all over social media, Jay. Not that, you know, we're saying it was all over social media, or my social media in particular, on Twitter, about his doping, he's ripped, he's jacked, he's this, he's that. He's been jacked since he burst on the scene. You know, I remember watching an interview he did with Butch Harmon when he was swinging. You've seen the famous where he's got to take it to the top paws and then get the arms down. Butch Harmon said there, we packed on about 10 pound of muscle. That, you know, 10 pound of muscle's quite a bit. Tiger obviously now, and I think, look at that, that was back in sort of 97, 98. So I look now, you know, we're 25 years later, technology's advanced, science, sports, nutrition, everything's advanced. These lads have everything, you know, they have a chef, they have a dietitian, they have a physio, they have a strength conditioning coach, they have something else. They've got such a team now that they can pack the muscle on, I think, quite quickly. They can also strip it off quite quickly. You know, they've got experts, and somebody like Tiger Woods will have top of the field experts. You know, he's not going to have some personal trainer from down the road who's just starting out. He'll have somebody who's proven, somebody who's at the top of their game, he gels with, does what he wants. Plus, his house has probably got its own kitted out state-of-the-art gym. You know, it's not like us where you got to go and pay a monthly membership to get a, I'm not even going to say the best, probably half decent equipment. He'll probably have top of the range equipment with top of the range people. You know, it's a different league to what we're used to. But I thought it was absolutely brilliant just to see him back for me. Big Tiger fan, it was absolutely brilliant. Like I say, I think it was his fitness more than anything that maybe, you know, with the sweating. I don't believe for 1 minute he would take performance enhancing drugs. And also, the question I would ask is, what do they do for golf? What do performance enhancing drugs do for golf? I don't see how it gives you an advantage. I really don't. You know, I get it in football, yes, it can give you the speed, it can give you the endurance, but what's it do at golf? You know, when you think about it in a logistical way, your golf swing's over in a matter of seconds. So how can a performance enhancing drug help with that? You know, you're walking, you're not running, so, you know, is it intense physical? No. So, you know, please let me know your thoughts, okay? I'm going to hang on another 2 or 3 minutes now. If you've got any questions, please fire them in. Okay, if you've not already, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share it. Make sure you like our videos. Obviously, we've got another video dropping Thursday that I think you're going to like. I will say, if you're struggling with your chipping, have a look at last week's video that dropped on Thursday. I showed you my chipping technique and my basics, what I work on, especially over the winter. There'll be another one dropping next summer, hopefully, when the weather's better. I can get on the actual practice ground, get on some greens, and you can actually see some end results. But I'd say for now, as I said in the video, work on your strike. Concentrate on your strike, your technique. It will come. Trust the process. Okay, I'm going to give it 2 more minutes. If you've got any questions, get them in quickly, please, guys. Thank you, Paul. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I hope you find it useful. Okay, if you got any, what I will say is if you have got any videos you want me to try and film that could help you with your game, drop it in the chat, please, or drop me a message, drop it in the comments afterwards. I'll do my best over the Christmas period to get some more videos to you, a bit more instructional coaching. All right, I'm not a PGA professional. I'm going to clarify that. It's just what I know of the game, just to try and help you develop yours, grow your game. Okay, 1 more minute, guys. So, what's your 1 minute warning? Okay, guys, I've been the Tall Golfer. Thank you for watching. Good night.